Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the EOC review over slope, y-intercept, and x-intercept. A.6.A and A.6.B. It's all about slope, y-intercept, and the x-intercept. Slope. Slope has many names. One is rate of change. Another is rise over run. Slope is the slope formula, which is right here. Slope formula. There's an M. And if you ever see the word per, like miles per hour, that's talking about rate of change, which is slope. These little triangles right here, let's talk about this last one right down here. M equals the change in y over the change in x. Okay, so the D, or that triangle shape, is called a delta, and that just means a change. That means the difference. And I have in red down here, it says fraction. Slope, always try to keep it as a fraction. It makes it easier to graph, and it's easier to read. Now, which way to go? Well, there's 4 types of slopes, and it's just like reading a book. If you read it from left to right, it makes it a whole lot easier. Now, we have 4 types of slopes. We have one that goes from left to right. It goes in a downward fashion. This is a negative slope. One that goes up, straight up and down, well, this is what we call an undefined slope. There is no value for it. One that goes from a slope that goes from left to right and it goes in an upward fashion is a positive slope. And a slope that goes straight across and has no upward or downward movement, it is called a zero slope. So if you want to sketch that somewhere on your paper, it makes it a whole lot easier. But the whole thing is you have 4 different types of slopes, and you always want to try to read it from left to right. Another clue, I'm going to add a slide here, is if you have a fraction, and let's say it's negative 4 over 3, right? Let's make that negative 4 over positive 3. Always try to have that negative or negative on top. So, because it's the same thing, it just means that we're going to go downward, and then you're always going right. This would always mean you're going right. Y-intercept. Y-intercept is the letter B, where a line touches the y-axis. It happens when x is 0. It's called the initial value. It's the down payment. It's a service fee. And the ordered pair for it is 0, some number, b. X-intercept. X-intercept happens when a line touches the x-axis. It also happens when y is 0. So it's the opposite of the y-intercept. It's where y is 0, and now you're finding the x value. Alright, so we got some examples here. First, we got this line, and we need to identify, 3 things, and then we can talk more about it. But we have a slope, and our slope goes from this point to this point, nice and clean. It goes from this point to this point. If we read it from left to right, it's going to be a positive slope, because it's going up upward from left to right motion. And the whole thing is we need to count how many spaces from point to point do I need to go up. I need to go up, or we need to go up, excuse me. We need to go up, looks like 2 spaces. So up 2, and how much do we have to run? We need to run 3 spaces. So our slope is 2/3. Our y-intercept happens when it touches the y-axis, and that would mean b is negative 2. Now, I also could write it as an ordered pair, 0, negative 2. My x-intercept happens when y is 0, and where the line touches the y or the x-axis, and it's right here. And I can write that as an ordered pair as well. And it's 3, 0. Now, There's some things that we can do with this, okay? First, we can write an equation. If we write an equation, all we need to do is plug in what we have. And what we're doing is we're plugging in the y-intercept and the slope. That's called slope-intercept form. Alright, so I think we've gotten everything that we needed out of this graph. You could also build a table. You could also, you can find the slope, the x, the y-intercept. But you can also write an equation. So there's a whole bunch of things you can do with just one graph. Alright, now this equation is what we call standard form. Now, the easiest way to graph a standard form equation is to find the y-intercept and the x-intercept. Now, to find the x-intercept, let's find the x-intercept first. Just ignore what the y is, and we can solve this equation. So we get 4x equals negative 12. I divide by 4, and I get x to be negative 3. That's my x-intercept, so I put a dot there. Bam. Now, let's say you want to find the y-intercept. To find the y-intercept, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to get rid of the x's. Don't take away that sign. So we have negative 3y equals negative 12. We divide by negative 3, and we get y to be positive 4. The y-intercept happens at positive 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now how easy is it to find the slope? Well, sure, we can find the slope, no doubt. All we have to do is find how much we have to go up, and then how much we have to go over. So we go up 4, and we run a positive 3. So our slope is 4/3. With this information, we can graph as many dots as we want. In fact, we can go backwards. We can go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And we can put another dot. What can happen now is you can draw a line all the way through the graph, and we have our linear function. Now, let's try doing this. Y equals mx plus b. If I wanted to write this equation, I could solve for y, or I could just use the information they give me. They give me a y-intercept, which is 4. My slope is 4/3. I put in my x, and I put down my y. So I have two forms that are the same. I went from standard to slope intercept. Now they've given us a table. All right, now this table is not complete by any standard. I mean, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But there's some things that we need to find. First off, we need to find where x is 0. Okay, well, we got to find the slope. So let's talk about how much the months are going up. The months are going up by 1, right? They're going up by 1. How about the y's? Well, they're going down by 50. So the slope, which is the change in y over the change in x, is negative 50 over 1. So let's erase that. So we have some room. All right, now we need to find 2 extra points, okay? Because to find the y-intercept, x is 0, and to find the x-intercept, the y is 0. So let's do this. Let's just go one more, and let's see what happens. Oh, look at that, 6 and 0. So we found the x-intercept. I took 50 away from 50, and I got 0. So there's my x-intercept. And to find the y-intercept, let's find what if there were 0 months. Let's see how much the loan was actually worth. And instead of subtracting, we're just going to add it. So it looks like the initial loan amount was $300. So let's write that a little nicer. All right. Now, let's make an equation. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals, now we take the slope, which is negative 50 over 1. We're going to try to keep everything as a fraction for slope. And the y-intercept is 300. So his loan started at $300. He had paid off his loan in 6 months. He was paying $50 per month. That's a big deal, per month. That is a really keen idea. That's our slope. All right, I think we have 2 more examples. All right, this next example has given you 2 points. So let's graph the first point. If we graph the first point, it's negative 3 and positive 3. Right here. We want to find a point. We want to find that y value if we have a slope of negative 1/3. Now, negative 1/3, that's our slope. Remember, we're going left to right. So we're going to go down 1 and over 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm just going to keep going until I can't go any further. I'm going to draw my line, because it is a linear function. All right, so the y-intercept, let's answer that. Y-intercept happens at 2. So x is 0, y is 2. The x-intercept happens at 6, 0. The point that they need, that they're asking for, is found right here. It's found right here. See it? Right there. Okay, so that point, it looks like it is 3, 1. So what does y have to be? Well, y has to equal 1. Now, we've got all this information. We have a slope, we have a y-intercept, we have an x-intercept. Let's do 2 things. Let's make y equals mx plus b. Okay, y equals mx plus b. We know what m is. M is negative 1/3. We know what the y-intercept is. It's 2. This is slope-intercept. We can also do point-slope. So let's do a point-slope. Point-slope is y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. So if we do this, we can just pick a point. Let's pick that first point they gave us. This one right there. All right, so everywhere you see y1, we're going to take the y value of that point. We're going to put it in there. We're going to take the slope, we're going to plug it in. Now we're going to take the x and plug it in. And right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a point-slope equation. Now, if you wanted to make it really nice and neat, you would take this right here. You would take this right here and make it a plus, because a negative and a minus becomes plus. So let's do that real quick. So instead of 2 negatives there, we're just going to make it a big plus right there. Hopefully this helped. Hopefully you got some information out of it. Make sure to push submit on your Google Doc. You must push submit to get credit for this this section, and if you have any questions, you need to make sure you ask any of the algebra teachers, which is Miss Nichols, Mr. Goethals, Mrs. Valenzuela, Mr. Isaacs, Mr. Snyder, Mr. Willingham, Coach O'Neill, Mr. Goethals. I think I got them all, but they are all willing to help, and if you need help seeing the video, come into class and watch it there. But make sure you push submit on your Google Doc, and hopefully this helped a little bit.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.